Hello, everybody, and welcome to the party. How you doing today? Hi. You can unmute yourselves and say hello. I won't bite without a safety word. Well, usually. Yeah, usually it's a fair assumption. Sometimes I do it just because of I'm still teething, but that's just me. Well, welcome to the party, guys. I will be your host today. Your host S with the most ish, maybe why not? I'm Jacob. Welcome to the party. Today we are joined by Mr. David Bermudez. How are you, handsome? Oh, were you warned about me ahead of
time? I was not warned about you specifically, but but apparently I was warned before I was thrown onto this, invited to this chat. So yeah.
Wonderful, good. I'm glad you at least know something, because I will tell you this is not your traditional show. I will probably offend you. If I don't give you time, it's gonna come. You will probably be sexually harassed at least twice. Once by me, at least once by Pam, who's head of our HR department. And yeah, this is really just more fun and definitely a lot more real than most people talk about when they talk about financial planning. So buckle up and let's have a good time, shall we?
Sounds good.
So people are now just starting to come in because we go live on Facebook. Right now it's syndicating across multiple platforms. So I'd like to give them all the time to get in here to see what's going on. So let me go ahead before we bring you on, David. Let's just say hi to everybody as we are going. Hello, everyone. Unmute yourselves and say hi.
Hello, David.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? How was your weekend?
How was your weekend, everyone?
Awesome. It was my
Now, before we get started with today's call, Nelson, who was bringing David on to speak, because apparently you know Nelson pretty well. He is otherwise detained at the moment, so I am hosting the show, which is pretty common. We were trying to pass it off. Anyway, so we are going to wish him the best. He might be able to pop on towards the end, but we're not going to hold our breath for that, so that's all right. So Pamela, how are you doing over there today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm doing good. Trying to keep it all together.
Keep it all together.
Fixing my roof, yeah.
Well, we're gonna hold
your roof
together with duct tape and prayer.
My roof was leaking this weekend. Yeah.
I totally thought you were gonna say your roof was on fire. Anyone else?
No, please, please. He tarred it, but no, please. No, oh, that way?
Yes, that was it. The roof is on fire. Something. I don't know. Anyway. James, you ready for Real Estate Survivor Season 2? I see you there hiding.
Nope.
Autumn, same question.
There we go. Finally unmuted. Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. I read your responses, Autumn and James. I'm so excited that you guys are going to be joining us. Are you getting nervous?
No more than usual.
No more than usual? That's nothing. We're not going to be scary. So, Austin, welcome to the call. I know who you are.
Gotta unmute myself. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
I've already warned David, so I'm going to count as a blanket statement for you. So therefore, you're warned. Go back and watch it. That's your background. So today's going to be fun. I'm putting on my serious face now. Let's see how long that lasts. For those of you who don't know my background, I know that David and Austin do not. Let me tell you guys who you're dealing with, so you can actually prepare yourself. Otherwise, it's just not fair. Hopefully you guys, David, did you get my email response?
Your email response?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he should have.
I got multiple emails, but I wasn't sure which one specifically you're talking about. So.
Well, the one where I was saying the question I was definitely going to ask you, to know if you saw that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely got that email.
So just so everybody knows, and people watching on Facebook, and you don't know who's watching on Facebook now, so we'll get over that. But let's be very clear. When I started my business, I'm a real estate investor. I'm a broker here in Florida. I'm an investor around the country. I traveled around the country teaching people how to invest in real estate for a couple of years, which is how these individuals know me. People on Facebook also know me. But we are a private group of investors that have a social mission, which is to give back and do something better. And we're not going to wait until we are billionaires to do it. We're doing it today to make a difference now. So
I saw Nelson actually doing that with you guys, right? Like he flew across, I forgot where exactly, but he flew across the country to help out with some underprivileged kids or something like that. I think I did see that. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you. Yes, we flew to, I started my nonprofit in January, filed in March, and we have since expanded. We set up our second home in Colorado Springs, where we all, with 12 of us, flew out to the home to remodel it. So to help homeless LGBTQ young adults. And that's what our mission is right now. But our mission is ultimately going to be to help house various vulnerable populations, but right now, specifically homeless LGBTQ. So that's the cool part here. So anyway, when I started my company 4 years ago, it was with my ex, who was a financial planner. So I learned a lot of creative things throughout this process. He was a CFP. So I have to disclose I am not a CFP. He was also an idiot. So I'm not going to put that on you guys. Okay. I'm being very, very clear. Okay. I'm making sure we have that. That's why, David, that's why I sent you the email. If you didn't share it with Austin, you should probably give him a heads up. But I gave you one.
Actually, I did share it with Austin. Yeah. So
good. I swear I'm not really a dick. I'm not. I dated one. And again, Austin, David was warned. You were not. Sorry about it. So, but I'm going to ask you guys some real questions. I know you'll give me real answers. We're going to have a great time together. To be very clear, everyone who's on the call, I am not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I am not an advisor. I'm a real estate investor who just practices what he preaches. Now, these two gentlemen right here, David, Austin, tell us. Are you fiduciary or do you have, what is your licensing? Tell us more about you guys.
Yep. So we are actually part of an overall insurance brokerage. So we're actually life and health licensed. We're not fiduciary, but that's our background here. But we work with other fiduciaries and other securities investors on our platform.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at your website earlier. It's actually a very nice website. No, I will not take your survey at the end of it to give you feedback. I might. So how long have you guys been practicing financial planning?
For me, it's been about 6 years. But prior to that, I was actually, my parents actually gave me a financial class when me and my spouse got together 10 years ago. And they said, of course, I was thinking this is kind of an odd engagement gift, because everyone else is getting you like bottles of wine and gift cards for date night and all this stuff. And then my mom and dad literally hand me a financial class. And I'm like, thanks, mom and dad, but they were like, no, think about it. You're about to join two households together, right? Probably makes sense to be on the same page about money. I was like, okay, that's smart. That's why you're the parents and I'm the kid. So we did take them up on that. We attended a 13-week course together, me and my spouse, and basically just learned some very fundamentals around like budgeting, getting off on the right foot as a newly, married couple, saving, not going into debt, eliminating debt, things like that. Some very kind of rudimentary principles around personal finance.
It's very true. When people get married, they often fail to talk about the taboo topics. And those are what you're building the foundation of the rest of your relationship on. I think that was a fantastic. More couples need to have this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
First about their finances and what they're getting into. So that was 6 years ago?
So no, sorry, that was 10 years ago. And then from there, I always just kind of had a passion because I love what you said, Jacob, about you practice what you preach, because I'm all about that. So literally I took, the skill sets that I learned around budgeting, saving money. I was very good at saving it, not very good at growing it, if you know what I mean. So just bank accounts and things like that, right? They don't really grow unless you put more money in them. So for me, it was just about being a good saver. It was about having emergency funds. It was about being able to save for real estate, down payments, things like that. And we've owned a couple properties, over the course of our life together, which has been 10 years now. We've been married 10 years, just celebrated that last August. And so we did that a couple times. We went through that same class a couple times, and I ended up taking it actually 4 times just to make sure I really understood those principles. And then seeing how that worked in my life, we paid off about 30 grand of debt in 6 months. So we were very diligent about that, got completely debt free with the exception of the mortgages, but no consumer debt, credit cards, student loans, vehicle payments, anything like that. Have been debt free now for 10 years, ever since we took that class. So I like that in the sense that it's a lot easier to save money without someone else's name all over it. That's for sure. And so I just kind of taught those things to my friends. You know, it was just, I did not wake up at, you know, or playing the sandbox at 4 years old and think, I want to be in the financial industry. Like, I was never thinking that. You know, I was thinking like most people, like, I don't know, I want to be a baseball player or a firefighter or astronaut or something, you know, back then. But yeah, I just learned that and I just taught it to my friends. So a lot of my friends were kind of in the same season of life, if you will. So they were getting married, they were getting engaged, they were purchasing their first home, they were having children. And so I was just doing it out of the kindness of my heart, you know, totally altruistic, not profiting anything, just to do that and just teaching them, you know, these basic rudimentary things that I learned, but that I found is severely lacking, probably because, you know, I live in California, man, and I'll tell you, the state's broke and they're not leading a good example of teaching us personal finance, that's for sure. So it was like, man, to not know about budgeting, to not know about saving money, to not know about taxes, to not know about a lot of this stuff, credit, debt, etc. No wonder most people out there are failing right now when it comes to personal finance. So just kind of became a passion of mine, wasn't a passion of mine, but it became a passion of mine. And then I was actually put in contact with my business coach and mentor over the last 6 years from my CPA, actually. So my CPA and I had a conversation 6 years ago when we bought our first combined house. I owned a condo before, separate from my spouse, but then we bought a house together. And then we had a kid 2 weeks after we moved into that house. So a lot of timing. And then I had this meeting with my CPA and I was complaining to her about paying 47% in taxes, right? Because out here in California, it's like high tax state, you know, all this stuff. So we were making like, I don't know, probably 250, 260 back then combined household income. And we were paying 47%. I'm like, hey, what gives? I'm all for paying taxes. Don't get me wrong, you know, but like, how do we actually save money? I mean, 47% seems a little excessive, you know, and so she said, well, you know what you need to do is you need to run a business. And that's kind of the first that I had ever heard about running a business and having tax write-offs through a business or a corporation or being self-employed or utilizing, you know, your tax write-offs from there to offset your W-2 tax liability. And so this whole kind of other world opened up for me about 6 years ago. And I was so impressed with what I was learning by this person she put, this mutual friend of hers that she put me in contact with, that I ended up deciding to take a position with the firm. And so I just did part-time. My background's actually IT. So I used to be an IT manager for about a decade, 10 to 12
You've been a nerd for a very long time.
Yes, nerd for a very long time. And it's funny, man, because I don't feel like I fit that mold. I'm more of like a people person, not like, you know, even though I do have my blue light glasses here, I probably should put them on for this presentation, right? Just so we could do that. But yeah,
the fact that you have blue light glasses, and you still
yeah,
think
I'm not usually like that, man. I'm more people person. I'm more people oriented. I just like to see people win. And especially I like to see people win with money.
Well, we definitely like that attitude on this show. If it's not a win-win, we don't do it. So Austin, the nerd, is over here. We love him to death. He's great. Love him. Very chatty. And you're giving me so much stuff. I'm going to go off of this. Great. Now, you're partnered with David, correct? Is that how you guys affiliate?
Yeah, we are business partners. Mm-hmm. We're business partners.
Yeah, that's very good to actually clarify.
I just wanted to be clear. That's all right.
Well,
I don't know. My wife could be watching this, so I gotta just clear the air, right? So
you probably already suspect. David, tell us about you.
Yeah, so actually I was kind of in the same place where Austin was. You know, I was $50,000 in debt at the time. I was pretty lost about money, had no idea. And then all of a sudden my wife goes up to me and says, David, sits me down on the kitchen table and says, we need to take out of our savings because we cannot pay the mortgage. And I was like, this is after me working. I have a law enforcement background. So this is me, like, and we're not very popular. I'm very sorry about that. but yeah, so I was working tons of overtime. I was working for like just a lot. And I was just so fed up. I was like, where's my money going? Like, where the heck's my money going? And the class that Austin's talking about, I took the same class in church. I took the same class. I was actually very huge awakening to me, like budgeting, saving money, things like that. Paid off $30K the first year. And then I'm completely debt free now, except the mortgage, which I'm fired up about, which is pretty cool because of this firm, by the way. And so, you know, he comes up to me and he says, hey man, I know you're really good about saving money and kind of like budgeting. Like, hey, why don't I show you some of the things, like, you know, some strategies that you may find interesting. And I'm like, dude, what's this guy going to show me? I just paid off $30K in debt. What do you got to show me, brother? Well, here's the thing. Like, I thought I was good. I wasn't good. I wasn't good. So he taught me these strategies. I was like, man, why doesn't everybody know this? And I'll never forget what he told me. He said, let me ask you a question, David. Do you know the best way to keep a secret? I said, don't tell anybody. He's like, no. I was like, what? Put it in a book. I was like, put it in a book? Like, what do you, like, dude, because nobody reads. Like, over 20 books written about this stuff, by the way. And nobody reads. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? He's like, yeah. Like, you just have to know where to get it. And let me ask you a question. When was the last time you saw a licensed financial professional that actually knew what he was doing? I said, well, I took the class in church. He's like, well, sorry, those are taught by, like, you know, no offense to anybody, but like, those are taught by like people who are not in the financial industry. I'm like, very true. So everything that he showed me, I just said, you know what? Like, this is cool. And he approached me and said, hey man, I was not very happy being a cop at the time. I got passed over for promotion. I got, you know, we deal enough with the dirt bags out there, right? With drunks and sex registrants and gang members and everything. And at the time, I felt like I was getting like kind of screwed by my my superiors per se. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm just sick of this. He's like, hey, dude, why don't you try a part-time position with this firm? You know, what do you have to lose? You can still do what you do. Like, just try it out. I said, yeah, what the hell do I have to lose, right? I tried it. 3 years later, I'm one of the best trainers in the according to Austin, I'm one of the best trainers in the division. So I'm pretty fired up about that. So we've kind of come a long way. So I'm really excited.
Which division is that again?
What's that?
What was the division again?
Our division is called Paramount, but we're part of Pinnacle Agency. That's where our financial firm is called. But our division is called Paramount. So
okay. That's fantastic. No, so I love the fact that you guys are very open and you decided to share how much debt you were in, because I think it gives a lot of people hope that you can actually overcome things that seem like insurmountable obstacles. Yeah. And it always starts with taking the first step. Anything you want to achieve is going to feel incredibly overwhelming when you first start it. The secret is just taking the step. Not worrying about the finish line, because you're going to get there as long as you keep taking steps. So what is the first thing you would tell someone who's coming to you that is trying to get their finances in order?
Well, I would say one of those things where most people fail is they don't know what's coming in and they don't know what's going out. That's just the basic, like I said, let's start at the chalkboard drawings, you know. Most people, like, let's say they have a W-2, then you pretty much know, I mean, I don't know right now, that's not very safe, but let's say for the most part, right, for the last 12 years at least, being on this bull run, most people knew what they were getting paid, let's say every month or every 2 weeks or every week or however the checks came into the household. But oftentimes we're, dare I say, delusional around what's actually going out. And it takes a tracking, right? Like being brutally honest with yourself and tracking, just like if you wanted to get fit, right? Like you're gonna have to track the food that you put in your mouth, right? Because that's gonna make a difference on, you can work out 5 hours a day, but if you have a horrible diet, that's gonna affect, you know, the way you feel, look, perform, etc. So it's the same thing when it goes to building wealth. The very basic fundamental is you got to know what's coming in, you got to know what's going out. And obviously what's coming in should be more than what's going out, right?
That's ideal.
It's called living below your means, right? Because then you're actually able to save money. And that's one of the biggest issues we see is most people, you know, because whether society's conditioned us to be this way or not, you know, we kind of live in this instant gratification society where we want it now. We want it now, we want it now, we want it now. I mean, I look at my kids, it's like, if their Netflix doesn't load on their tablet in 1 second, they're up in arms, you know, and they don't realize, like, we used to have dial-up internet, like like all this stuff. And it's like, hello, like you had to wait, you know, minutes, right? If not 30 minutes. Remember when you used to have to download an MP3? It would take 45 minutes, right? Now you click a button on Apple, boom, you got it on iTunes or whatever. So it's just crazy. We live in this, instant gratification society. I want it now. I'll worry about it later. And that's unfortunately, I think, in my opinion, setting a lot of people up for disaster.
I understand that as well. You do have to have your hand on the pulse of your own finances. That's definitely for sure. And for you, David, what is your response?
No, I mean, well, it's the same thing. You have to know, because I was just actually talking to somebody last night about this. I was like, hey, so let's see what your house looks like. Because I usually tell people, let's get your house in order. Well, actually, let's just see what your house looks like. I don't even know. I mean, does your living room, is it packed with laundry up the yin yang, or is your bathroom like toilet like nasty? Like, how does your house look like? If it's good, then cool. Like, let's just implement some strategies that'll improve that. Let's get yourself, a nicer couch, or let's get yourself a brand new sink, or whatever. Let's just see what we can do with that. But that's essentially the bare bones basics of what this, because obviously that's where we were at, as far as paying off debt, things like that. We didn't know what we didn't know. And that's the biggest thing I see out there with people who just don't know how simple things, not simple, but just things work. Like how do your investments work? Do you know about your 401k? Do you know about your 457, your 403b, your TSP, like whatever you have, like, what do you know about it? And most people are going to be like, I don't know. I just put money in it. It's like, okay, well, let's just break this down, and then we can see what we got going on. And that's essentially it.
With all the new laws that have been passing this year with the stimulus package, we do know that you're able to take up to 100% of your earned income and donate it to a nonprofit or charity. You also have access to retirement funds that you would not have had access to prior to this pandemic. Can you guys give us a brief synopsis on what those things are? We have covered it somewhat, but for people who've not been here that are watching on Facebook, what are some of those changes and how can they take advantage of them?
Yeah, well, what you're referring to is the CARES Act that got put into effect, I believe it was March 26th this year when the whole pandemic was going down. And this is kind of a first of its kind in the sense of the IRS has never really given people a get out of jail free card, as long as I've been dealing with them, that's for sure. And so what happens, one of the provisions in that, specifically to what you're asking here, Jacob, is there is a distribution allowance from any qualified plans. So a qualified plan is basically a tax deferred plan, a retirement plan, if you will. A lot of people know them as their names or their tax codes, like 401k, 403b, 457. Federal government has something called a TSP, thrift savings plan, or even an IRA or a Roth IRA, right? Those are all qualified plans. And so what you're allowed to do, the government has allowed you to do this, is that you can take out up to $100,000 out of those plans and you can use it for whatever you need, right? So the way that the plan was written, the CARES Act was written, was that it needed to be a coronavirus related distribution in order to be able to use those funds. So you think about all the changes that are going on. Like me personally, I have kids. So those kids are now home. Mommy and daddy have to spend more time with those kids instead of being at work, right? Working on their business or whatever the case may be, because these kids don't, stay in front of the computer all the time when they got ADD, right? So there's just things like that, or people got furloughed. Right. My wife has a corporate events background. Right. And she just had, a little girls' night with a bunch of the ladies last week. And, she found out that she probably would have gotten let go. Right. Now, fortunately, we made that decision voluntarily about a year ago, right, to retire her and bring her into helping with the operations and back office and administration on the business side. But a lot of people, it's not their choice, right? It's called at-will employment. And we see that going on right now, that people are being let go. There's obviously certain industries hit harder than others and things like that. So if your spouse has to stay home, if you got furloughed, if you had to forego some income, something like that, you're allowed, the IRS allows you, as long as the employer also allows you. So that's the part that people don't understand. They think, because the IRS allows me to, it's green light. Not exactly true, right? So you actually have to call the managing company. So whoever your employer is dealing with from a fund manager perspective, Fidelity, Vanguard, whoever it is, you have to call them and ask if they are allowing for coronavirus related distributions, CRDs. And if they are, then obviously you can fill out the paperwork and do that. So that should be for, I mean, I guess it's at your discretion, right? But people are using it to get by. People are using it to continue the rent payments or mortgage payments or groceries or whatever the case may be. Or you look at a unique opportunity right now, the way the rest of that CARES Act works is that they are not charging a 10% penalty if you are under 59 and a half. Right. So before, if you have a qualified plan and you need to access that money, take a distribution from under 59 and a half, 10% penalty goes right away to the IRS. Right. So they said, hey, you know what? We're going to line item through that. We're not going to charge that anymore. Oh, and by the way, we're going to go ahead and let you work out the taxes over the next 3 years. Right. Over the next 3 years. Why would that be important? Well, any distributions you take from a qualified plan gets added immediately on top of your income. Right. So whatever you make for the year, let's say if it was 100 grand, let's just say it was 90 grand for ease of math, you would get added 90 grand to your income this year. So whatever you made plus 90 grand, and then that's obviously taxed at your highest marginal brackets, right? So you're going to be taxed there federally and state. But with this CARES Act distribution, if you take that out, you're spreading the taxes over 3 years. So it only looks like you made 30 grand this year. It only looks like you made an extra 30 grand in 2021 and then an extra 30 grand in 2022. So it spreads out your tax liability and you don't have the 10% penalty. So a lot of people have been seeing value in that and taking advantage, of that situation.
When you actually, let me see how I want to put this into an example. I'll come back to it. Okay, so tell us, how do you invest in real estate? And if so, how?
I personally don't invest in real estate at the moment.
And why not? You are in California. I mean, your state's crazy and full of shit, but you do have high appreciation. Not that I invest for appreciation. Continue.
Just right now, honestly, that's kind of not the priority for me in my life as far as with my kids and as you can see, distance learning. So, just for me, it's like right now I'm just trying to kind of focus on other things as far as investments than actual real estate, because I know that for me, if I were to invest in real estate, I have to worry about changing toilets, evicting people, and taking out the trash. Right now with 3 kids, I can't do that. I can't do that. So those are things that I'd have to kind of add to my plate, which I'm not saying never say never, but I definitely right now it's kind of not the time for me.
And Austin?
Yeah, so I mean, I've only owned, well, I guess that's not true. Okay, so I've owned 2 primary residences. One was a condo, and then when we moved into the second house, the current house now, we converted that to a rental, but that only lasted about 6 months, right? So my experience there in 6 months was that, obviously you're going through interviews, you're interviewing tenants, you get them in, you think it's all good. And then, we were turning a net profit of $300 a month. So obviously that's going to your slush fund because you're going to have things that come up in your real estate. So I had $1,800 after 6 months. And then after 6 months, they decided to move out. In the meantime, they had ruined the new carpets. They had spilt nail polish. They started a fire in one of my outlets in one of the bedrooms, right? So literally, what was it to replace all that? $1,800, right? So it was $1,800. So for that, I decided to cash out. You're right, Jacob, we have a lot of appreciation here in California. So we turned, 75, 80 grand on that deal. I'm definitely not opposed to investing in real estate, but right now I'm building up some other things so that it's going to allow me to use $1 twice. And that's just some different strategies that we talk about there, especially for like real estate investing, because I deal with a lot of real estate investors as well.
I'm trying to think about where I want to take this. Remember, I wasn't supposed to be the host for this long, so I'm just like trying to be.
That's okay. You're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, I know. I'm kidding. So we started doing this in like the second week of quarantine, whenever I was getting depressed and just wanted to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And have fun. And surprisingly, everybody kept showing up. They were interested in seeing how I was combining real estate with nonprofit work. And it just became this thing. So we've been doing these calls 3 days a week since March. So it's been a lot of fun. Yes, we have a very large library now of guests that we brought on the show, all with various expertise like yourselves.
Sure.
Now, the thing that we are trying to encourage to these calls are for people to ask questions and expand their know-how, because you two clearly know things that we don't. And we know things that you guys you could benefit from. So it's about building stronger teams and leveraging each other's and relationships so that we can continue to rise above and reach our full potential. So, so you guys don't invest in real estate. So what advice are you comfortable and feel qualified to give to real estate investors?
Well, I mean, I can just speak from, once again, right, practice what you preach, right? So one of the things that we've been doing is family banking. I don't know if you guys are familiar with family banking or not.
Some of us are. The rest are about to learn it during next season of Real Estate Survivor. Go on.
All right, perfect. So, so in regards to family banking, essentially, well, I guess I'll tell you a story, right? So let me tell you this story, and this is how it kind of came to be. So my parents are real estate investors. They owned multiple rental properties when we were little kids before they even owned a primary residence. My grandfather immigrated here from Malta and built an entire street, was a contractor. He passed away at a very young age, about 42, left my grandma with 6 kids to raise, no income, no nothing. But what did he do? He built the homes, so they owned assets. So my grandma was able to rent out those assets down in Capitola, which is like a little beach town here in California by Santa Cruz. And she was able to rent those out, right? Create an income for her and the kids, the 6 kids. And then obviously when there were bigger things that came up during life, college or cars or things like that, you know, she was able to sell properties, obviously turn a profit, produce some cash, inject some cash there, and then go ahead and accomplish those goals. So having that modeling for my mom, right, she always wanted to be in real estate. So at one time, my mom was a real estate agent. And I think that she kind of had my dad's ear on that side about investing in real estate, turning a profit. They always had duplexes and things like that. And as they explained it to me, you know, even if you don't have one tenant in there, you're still getting some money coming in, right? So they've always done kind of duplexes or multi-units, not single family. And then seeing them model that, I've seen that asset base grow, you know, over the course of the years where they've sold that off, they've purchased other ones. You know, they're probably getting to retirement age, knock on wood, hopefully here in the next couple of years. And that kind of comes into play. So my dad and I had this conversation a while back. Actually, we've been implementing this like for the last 5-ish years or so. So we had a conversation a while back about this concept or this theory of the 2 towers. And so what I mean by that is, so my parents, obviously they're much older than me, right? They had me. So they have one household tower, right? And then I have one household tower. Well, truth be told, I make more than my parents. So I have more like the liquidity and the cash flow going on. They have kind of the equity and the asset base, right? So obviously in a perfect world, you would want both. Right? That would be fantastic for any one investor. Okay. So since we don't have that situation, we're like, how do we bridge these 2 towers? Like, how do we build these things together? How do we tie them in? And so we didn't come up with this concept, but I researched this concept and we've implemented since then this concept of family banking. And there's a bunch of different books on it. I can more than happy to give you guys some resources and things like that. But essentially what happens is, the chassis or the instrument that's used is insurance contracts. Okay. And so, life insurance contracts specifically. And so there's 4 different kinds of permanent life insurance contracts. You can do a whole life, you can do a universal life, you can do a variable universal life, you can do an index universal life. So we've chosen index universal life, which is kind of like the iPhone 12 version, right? Whole life would be like the iPhone 1 version, right? And so there's some different benefits with that. If you guys understand about indexed strategies, not to be confused with index funds, it's where the insurance company essentially gives you some guarantees around your money. So you get the upside potential of the market. If the market goes up, you know, your money goes up. If the market comes down, you stay locked in and protected. If the market goes up, your money goes up. If the market goes down, you stay locked in and protected. So almost like a profit sharing plan of sorts, right? So they give you that upside potential of the market, but at the same time, you're avoiding that downside risk, okay? Because if you had all your money in a variable growth structure, 401k, stock market, mutual funds, variable universal life, you have the potential for loss, right? So here, that's not the case. So what we're doing is we're using money, funding money into these vehicles. Right now, we're at about 15 different vehicles, right, that we have all in different size buckets, and I'll speak to that. But you're able to put money in here post-tax dollars. Okay, you're able to grow the money tax-free, right? Technically tax-deferred, right? But then you take it out, the distributions tax-free via a loan provision, and then you're able to pass it on tax-free as well. That's just basically through the tax code that's written through the IRS. So we're utilizing these vehicles, we're funding in. Now I have the liquidity access, so I'm doing most of the funding right now, okay? Parents retiring, they're gonna be selling off some of these properties. That's gonna be a huge injection of cash. What do you do with these hundreds of thousands of dollars, to your point, Jacob, in California, right? After capital gains, right? You need somewhere to put them. So what do? Put them in a bank account? Probably not, right? So we're going to be able to fund that into these vehicles, access to the money, just like a bank account, right? We have access to the money, but we're able to grow everything tax-free, take loans out from it, pay it back or not pay it back. And then essentially, as this grows, we're building the asset base from generation to generation. Now we're talking about my nephew, my kids, things like that. Because I'll be honest, right? My parents aren't utilizing a 401k. They're probably going to more utilize a 401a. Austin, there's a little joke in there for you, right? So
yeah, again, the nerd talk, we get it. Keep going.
Yeah, you're quick in the update, Jacob. I thought you'd get it. So I just wanted to make sure everyone else. And then I like James's screenshot here because it makes me feel like everything I'm saying he's laughing at. I like that. So just down here, right, what we're doing is we put the money in. Now my parents are able to utilize retirement supplement, tax-free retirement supplement out of this. And let's be honest, no one's making it out of this thing alive, right? This thing called life. So when my parents do pass on, right, all that money that they were taking out of the family bank, guess what happens? It gets paid back to the family bank via the life insurance tax-free proceeds, right? So literally each and every generation is going to be richer than the first. And that's called the Rockefeller method. The Rockefellers were the first ones to actually come up with that. So every person with the Rockefeller last name, right, when they're born, right, they get one of these life insurance contracts on them, what we call $1 million babies, and they fund them, right? They fully fund them because that's the best way to do it. You don't want to partially or underfund it. It doesn't work that way. It just ends up being expensive. So you want to overfund them, and then they're growing all this money tax-free. And now every single person with that last name, right, has access to that family bank as long as it's something to perpetuate the family legacy, whether that's real estate, to your point, Jacob, right? Like owning more land, starting businesses, making impacts in community, nonprofits. So that's a whole nother talk about policy and the people involved, board of directors and things like that on who actually has the say on the family bank, right? But that gets into another topic.
So for those of you who are watching, I want you to write a couple of things down so you can actually take note. The first thing I want you guys to write down is the term constructive receipt. Constructive receipt is what you are taxed on when you actually, when you get profits from a transaction, making it very, very short. So say you sell a house and you make $50,000. If you collect that 50 grand, that is constructive receipt. Therefore, that's what you're going to be paying your capital gains or taxes on. Now, one of the things that Austin is talking about is, and it was key, and he kind of brushed over it very quickly, so I'm going to make sure we hit on it again. He talked about with the family bank, what happens is they are actually going to be using, essentially, loan proceeds instead of profits to help each other. By doing that, they are actually using debt. So you don't get taxed on debt. Debt is not something that's taxable, correct? In fact, it's beneficial when it's structured correctly. So by using strategies like the family bank or even family life insurance policies that go with it, you are able to maximize the money that you keep greater than you would be if you were passing it off without thought. I'm trying to put that very clearly there. Now, there are strategies that we use in real estate. For example, if you are selling a property that is a traditional, to use Austin and David, they know more of basic single family residences. So we're gonna speak in those terms first. If you were to sell a single family residence that's an investment property, you can sell in something that's called a 1031 exchange. Make sure you write that down as well, 1031 exchange. A 1031 exchange allows you to sell one asset and then move into another asset in the same asset class. And you have to do it within a certain period of time, and you have to identify and close and so on and so forth. So in other words, you have to sell You sell a house, you buy a house. You sell a yacht, you buy a yacht. You sell a stock, you buy a stock, so on and so forth. You don't cross asset classes. Now, there are strategies that allow you to do just that. There are better strategies than 1031 exchanges. Most real estate investors don't know about them, but there are fantastic things you can do, such as M453. Those are great and everything, as long as the asset's over $500,000. M453 will allow you to avoid any constructive receipt, and again, allow you to plan for a legacy with your real estate. So my question for you guys, since you say you deal with mostly real estate investors, but based on the conversation, I'm assuming that these are probably just more, and I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm just trying to make sure I use the right words. Are they more basic real estate investors, sticking with primarily residential, single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes?
Yeah, I would say so.
You as well, David? Okay.
Yep.
And those are different models. You have to do different things for that type of investor. So what advice would you give real estate investors to help them maximize their profits when they are buying and selling investment real estate?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So along with this strategy, let's stick on here. And it's funny, Jacob mentioned 1031 exchange. So on this side of the industry, we have something called 1035 exchange, right? And 1035 exchange basically means that you're able to move money from one of those vehicles to the next without any sort of tax implications, right? So you maintain your same cost basis, you're maintaining your same tax advantages. So let's say, for example, if someone has like a whole life or some sort of permanent life insurance and they want to upgrade, right, to the latest and greatest, they're able to do that through a 1035 exchange, right? So it's the same exact thing, same asset class, protected asset class product, insurance-backed product. They're able to do that. Okay, but in the example of real estate, so I'll tell you like a couple of my guys that I'm working with. So they're funding these vehicles very heavy the first couple of years, let's say 1, 2, maybe 3 years. And then they're able to access that money back out via that loan provision for real estate investing. Okay, so they're not only getting market-like returns inside the program, the loan proceeds they're taking, it's a collateralized loan against the money they have inside. So this loan that they're taking, this cash, they're reinvesting now in another asset base, right? So they're basically, that's what I mean about using a dollar twice, they're doubling their money, right? And so when you look at, just doing real estate investing, that's fantastic, or just doing what we're talking about, that's fantastic. But combining, like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Like now we're talking about, really doubling up your asset base there, because not only are you gonna be able to turn capital gains profit on this side or cash flow, right? If you're using it as cash flow properties or flips or whatever you're doing, right? You're still able to earn the money inside working in here tax-free. And then you have buckets to place your money back into for the next deal.
So you're right. Yes, being able to leverage the knowledge of insurance products and different stocks and trading is incredibly valuable. And I like to say to some of my mentees that you want to specialize in one asset, but you want to have knowledge in multiple. And you want to have other people who specialize in what you do not, so you create a much stronger power team and you can see what's going on there. So David, do you have anything different you would tell a real estate investor?
No, just essentially what Austin's talking about. It's like, that's one thing that a lot of people don't really grasp, because I really didn't grasp what he just said, using the same dollar twice. So what does that mean? That means essentially I go to a bank. Let's say I go to, I don't know, Bank of America, Chase Bank, whatever bank you wanted to pick. And I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Chase, Mr. and Mrs. Bank of America, I want to take a loan out from the bank. Great. Now, does that affect your checking and savings account? No, it doesn't, because it's a loan that you're taking out from the bank. So while you still have your checking and savings account that's not touched, right? It's still building, it's still compounding its interest, which like you don't make any money in the bank, by the way. It's 0.01111, whatever, right? But let's just say it was 1%, or let's just say whatever. You're still growing your money here, but you're taking out a loan out, right, from the bank, and you're putting it, let's say you want a pool in your backyard. You're putting that money into your pool in the backyard. So that loan you're taking out from the bank, it's your pool now, but your money's still compounding interest. That's exactly what this strategy is about when it comes to family banking. You're not affecting the compound interest on the money side, but you're taking a loan out against what you already have in your bank, your family bank, your Jennings bank, right? And then you put it in the backyard and that's your pool. So when that kind of got to me, when I finally understood that concept, blew me away. How is that possible? Well, that's how it is. And that's what wealthy people do, right? That's what the big banks do. That's what the corporations do. That's what all the all-star athletes do. That's what all the politicians do. That's what they do. And so when, like I said, that's basically what I would, at least open people's minds up to knowing, why don't you let your money work harder than you're working?
Mhm.
Right. And that's what I would say.
So how, so it's very similar to how the family bank yes model is very close. Those of you who are doing Real Estate Survivor Season 2, you're gonna be learning about a sweep account and how to work things this way. Another strategy that we like to utilize within real estate. So, okay, so. Actually, I'm gonna turn it around. What questions do you, Austin and David, have about real estate investing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, I don't know everyone's level here, especially for us Facebook Livers on here. I'm sure there's varying levels of investment knowledge and experience. So what would you say would be one of the best ways? I love what you said at the very beginning. I wrote this down. It said, just start, and one of my mentors always told me, hey, you don't have to be good to start. You just have to start to be good, right? So how would you say, someone that they want to work this into the portfolio, Jacob, they go, you know what? I understand real estate is great. They're not making more land. We probably need to get in at any time. I think it's probably better, sooner than later. But of course, kind of other factors are in play. It's election year. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. We got this dang pandemic we're dealing with, all that stuff. But what would you maybe be able to give some of the viewers as far as how would you start getting into real estate investing? I like some of the things that you said about, surrounding yourself with the right people and, building a team, a knowledge-based team, if you will, or I think you called it a power team. But what would be some advice if someone's just getting into it?
It's actually very similar to how you guys start. You have to know where you are first. And I break it down into primarily three different divisions. One is, are you in need of first cash flow? Are you in need of tax benefits? Or are you ready for portfolio and legacy strategies? So those are the simple ones to put in. Within each one of them come earned and passive income potentials. And then you want to see what makes sense for you, because you're at one age and one income bracket is different than any other. So a general rule of thumb that I teach people is you want to look where most people aren't looking. Where most financial planners get stuck when working with professional real estate investors, and this is one of the things I love working with financial planners because, by the way, I'm in Boca Raton, Florida. Dear God, we have financial planners all over the place.
Yeah.
88 hedge funds here, it's crazy. So what we try to do is, and the problem that I see most real estate investors make is they only invest in real estate versus diversifying. But I also believe that a diverse portfolio means you have real estate, stocks, commodities, businesses, and you make sure that everything's there.
I like that.
First thing I do within real estate is I try to look at what their cash flow is, because cash flow is king. But instead of spending, here, let's do this. David, how much is an average rental property in your area?
Average, $25,000 to $3,000 a month.
So that's the average rent.
Average.
Okay.
A lot higher rent.
Okay, cool. And how much is the home?
As far as the average home cost right now?
That would have the $2,500 to $3,000 rent. Yeah, how much would that be?
Oh, like a
750
or a 2-bedroom, maybe.
Yeah, probably 750 or 8, for that kind of rent.
So you have a property that is bringing in, we'll do the $3,000 a month for ease.
Perfect.
Times 12, that is $36,000 a year if it's paid off free and clear, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. That's the cash flow. Yep. You said that was 750,000?
Sure.
Well, that's lovely. that return is very small. It says, boom, so 4.8%.
4.8%. Yep.
Now that is just the first year, and after that you've got return on equity. It all changes based on how long you hold the property, how it appreciates. But the problem with investing in that type of single family home is, as we learn here, all of your cash flow is eaten up in repairs. Like you were talking about, David, you got those fixed toilets, so on and so forth. We have strategies that do not require that. That is much more savvy, just like you guys have in your business models. So, but for $750,000, for example, God, I don't even know. Like, this is hysterical. Let's go to the cash flow strategy. This is more fun. So if you were looking at making $36,000 a year, and you were doing, I can replace the $2,500 a month in passive income with $185,000.
And how would you do that?
Actually, I said that wrong. It's $95,000.
Even better.
So how do you do that? So how we do that is, for this particular example, we use an asset class that is the fastest growing asset class in the United States. Stephanie, what is that?
Mobile homes.
Very good. Mobile homes. Now, why do we use mobile homes? Bo, why are mobile homes an attractive asset class?
There we go. Sorry. Because it's personal property.
Mm-hmm. So the transactions are much faster. The cash flow is actually greater, and you can buy more of them. So if I were to put $750,000 in one property, and now my cash is locked up into that one property, only making $36,000 annually. Okay, well, now I'm not liquid, as you were saying, David, or Austin. You're not liquid, and you do have your net worth now, because you have an asset that is worth $750,000, but is it being taken care of? All that stuff, you got to go with it. And if you have a vacancy, you don't make money that month. So your returns that I was just showing you is assuming no vacancy. Stephanie, before I go on, what's up?
I was just gonna say, now I forgot. You didn't call me sooner.
I was trying to make a point. Now the difference.
I was gonna make a point too.
Well, then unmute yourself and just speak. So you know how this works. Anyway, so for mobile homes, for example, say you get into a mobile home and you are all in $20,000 for one mobile home, bringing in between $400 to $500 a month. Well, if you were to take that and you buy 5 of them, now you've replaced that $2,500 a month in passive income. Now, what are the benefits of that? Well, you have 5 properties now, as opposed to 1, so you're diversified over 5 different bank accounts coming in. So if one doesn't come in, fine, you're down $500, but you still have the others coming in. Plus, you still have $650,000, $55,000 to go and do other things with it. So what we try to do is, when we do real estate, we do not want anything less than a 20% return on our investment if we're doing the earned income. If we're doing passive, we don't do anything less than 12 to 15%, depending on your personal preference. So that's where you see a lot of the disconnect between professional real estate investors and financial planners. But together, they're powerful. And this is how this happens. You see, a lot of the things that we teach, we used self-directed IRAs or solo 401ks, and we know why. Let's see if we can get someone to answer. Stephanie, why do we use these vehicles?
So we use a self-directed IRA because it is after tax. So all of it is like, as it generates money, it's tax-free money because you already paid the taxes up front. So anything that it generates, and you're like also making a huge investment for your retirement in the future, so you don't have to even worry about it. You just don't have capital now, but I'd much rather not have to do anything when I'm 80 years old than, I don't mind, hustling a little bit more now because I'm, vibrant and 29 and fresh.
That's a nice start. And yes, to clarify, if it's self-directed Roth, it's post-tax. If it's traditional, it is pre-tax. But yes, you were absolutely right. So what we do then is we actually create the note, which is something that's more savvy. And this is where financial planners enjoy it. As opposed to having to go and change toilets and repair roofs and do all the dirty work, because let's be honest, I don't think any of us here that actually have our cameras on look good dirty. I don't see you with me.
Well,
My camera's off and I still don't look good dirty.
Thank you, Autumn. I love you for being honest about that, but you got a great picture, honey. Yeah, so we don't like to get dirty. So we hold the notes and we put the notes into our retirement account. Notes are their own asset class. Notes raise net worth. Notes give you liquidity fastest. So you're able to sell that note much faster than actual property, something most real estate professionals don't even know. So there are those assets that you want to be aware of there. Now that's just an earned income cash flow strategy that we use to get you moving and having passive income. And it's usually only a 5-year hold, which is fabulous. But depending on their education and depending on their tolerance and their appetite, we then move on to other strategies. So one of the best ones that we also like to utilize as we go forward, so say, for example, those homes that you guys have for $750. Well, if I took that same $750,000, we used 95 to get into 5 mobile homes, still bringing in the same amount of cash flow you had, and now you still have $655,000 left. Well, guess what? Go on, Bo.
you could buy a park and then put those homes on a park. And then if the park's big enough, you can buy more, and then you start generating more cash flow.
And that is an example of a portfolio and legacy strategy in our world. In other words, something you pass down from generation to generation, and just like the structure you guys use. Yes, Steph.
I remember what my point was from earlier. And the reason why we also like mobile homes as a reason, like Bo mentioned, that it is personal property as opposed to real estate. There's no eviction, it's a repossession. So that can take up to 30 days to 6 weeks, as opposed to having to go through the whole foreclosure or eviction process that takes months and months, and depending on what states you're in, years. And now with COVID, so even longer time. So 30 days, pretty much one and done. 40 days at the max, you got your property back.
Nice.
So let's ask Pamela. Are you there? Is she not there? She might be busy. Bo, what if we don't want to rent mobile homes?
Then you just operate them as flips and you turn them back and sell them.
Mm-hmm.
You buy them cheap, you fix them up if they need some fixing, and then you sell it for a much larger profit. And then boom, then you take that money and reinvest it in more. And you just keep going and going and going.
So what do we do if we do want the passive income, but we don't want to rent?
Then you do lease options.
There you go. Stephanie, define that for us.
So a lease option is basically where you allow them to purchase the property, and they give you basically a non-refundable down payment to get that option to be able to purchase it after a certain amount of time. So you get the passive income every month, them collecting, but it's with this understanding that they have a certain number of time to tell you, yes, we're going to buy it. And they, at that point in time, they have to pay you the rest, like whatever you decided on from the beginning, what the price of the property or asset is going to cost. So then you get a big lump sum at the end in a short amount of time. So you can maybe hold it as a rental for maybe 18 months or 18 months or 2 years while they get their funding in order, if they need funding or anything like that. And then be able to sell it for then get the lump sum at the end. And now you have, 20,000 or whatever it is ready to go, liquid. Now you reinvest and do it all over.
That's a very nice.
And then the other beauty of it too. Oh, go ahead.
I got it. Because they have the understanding that they're going to purchase it, they take care of all the repairs themselves. So you don't have to worry about repair costs, because they have this intrinsic idea that this belongs to them already. So and you also put in your contract that they're responsible for any and all repair costs, because it's now their home.
Pride of ownership, yes. Bo?
What I was going to throw into there as well. So if you already, let's say you had like 5 homes, all right, and you wanted to move them all onto a park. And let's say you want to invest that money in building the park yourself, or if you find a park that's vacant that needs a new owner. Well, not only can you buy homes for a low cost, flip them, and then put them on there, and then do your lease options, you're also collecting money for lot rent for every home that you put on there too. So you're just getting like crazy passive cash flow that's just like rolling in money for you free of charge.
Very good. So the reason works brilliantly with what Austin and David do is we do what's called lease options or rent to owns. They're essentially the same thing depending on the state you were in. Some states do not allow either of them, but they're a form of seller financing. Seller financing, it just means that the person who owns the asset is actually going to carry the paper and turn the asset from a tangible asset into a paper asset, thus raising their net worth, and they take payments over time. Now, as they're going about doing this is where it gets fun, when you're able to combine these strategies. If you are able to sell these notes, let me back up. If you're able to create these notes.
Be able to be the bank.
Yes, I'm trying to put it in the right way so I put it into the strategy terms.
Bundle the asset.
What, honey?
You bundle the asset, right? Like when you take multiple mortgages, you do that, right?
Yes, but I'm not there yet. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. So if you're able to take these properties that are owned, anyway, I know where I want to go with, I'm trying to think the right words. 1 second. So if you have these notes that you now create that are bringing in a stated income and a stated return because they are a fixed variable, so now you can go ahead and you can liquidate them by selling them to a discount note buyer or another private investor. And those investors can buy those funds using their family bank. And now they have more income coming in than the interest that they charge their family bank. Now their family's trust has a net worth that is higher and greater, and they can be leveraged further. So the idea behind all of it is, how do you continue to grow and compound these things? In mobile homes, I usually use 5 years is what I typically do, because they are a car in essence. But then we go into single family homes, things are different. So now we're going to continue here. This has been a great time for me to quiz these guys. So thank you guys for being a part of this. You see where it is. So now we have 5 mobile homes that we are not having to go and worry about repairing, or meth addicts going and trashing our place, because the people who have moved into them have actually decided to take care of it. They want the home. Oh, by the way, there's actually a much lower eviction rate in mobile homes than there are in single family. So, because they actually can afford it more. So, Pamela, give me some examples of what falls under the category of mobile home.
What falls under? I don't know.
Like manufactured.
Oh, you mean the manufacturer, the single wide, double wide housing, anything that can be moved.
Mm-hmm. So that includes RVs,
tiny homes.
Tiny homes.
Yeah, true.
What else?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, vacation cabins are a great way to do it. Repurposed shipping containers, upcycled housing that way. It's just really anything that can be transported. So that's the idea. It's just not built by traditional stick and brick housing. So manufactured housing is a great way of getting into stuff, because there is definitely a housing shortage right now and a population boom, and it is the fastest way to build a house, and there are actually stronger materials than we get in stick and brick homes. Now, what benefits do we get from stick and brick homes? Stephanie?
Traditional financing.
Yes, much easier. So we can then do what? Leverage. But we want to leverage correctly. All right, so traditional financing. What other benefits do we have, Bo? Pam? You were on fire for a minute there, Pam.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What other benefits do we have by having stick and brick real estate?
Oh, it becomes an asset, even though it's technically not.
If it's cash flowing for you, it is an asset. If it's not,
if it is, yes.
For you, yes. So Pamela, what other benefits do we get from single family?
Appreciation.
There you go. What else? There you go. And that is a what? That's an example of a
what?
Tax benefit.
Oh, a tax benefit. Yeah. It also appreciates usually.
Yeah. In this economy, it's been doing great. So yes, they appreciate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we can still take some of those funds. You don't get those benefits from a mobile home per se. Some do, depending if you have them on a slab or not. But if you do go into single family, you can still buy homes that cash flow for roughly the same amount of money. But you get this amount of, I know Stephanie, ooh. So you get the ability to write more often your taxes to get things going. Thank you to 199 Cap A or 1099 Cap, yeah, 199 A. So different things going there, but the overall strategy and the system that we try to preach here to get you guys moving forward and growing your net worth is what? Stephanie, what do we start with and where do we go and how quickly do we do it?
What? That did not make sense to me.
Do we stay in single family home or do we go elsewhere?
Oh, we go up. We go elsewhere. Are you kidding
All right,
me?
so where do we start?
We start in single family, and then we go to multi-families to then reach up to syndications, our large-scale syndications.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we go from, you get out of single family as soon as possible, replacing your income and your net worth by buying into apartment complexes, mobile home parks. Mm-hmm. So that's just the basic model that we utilize here, and we can talk about syndications and such like that later. But the thing that's better, that a lot of financial planners, my ex is a financial planner for high net worth individuals. And so one of the things that we had many discussions about was how they can use their, we'll say their cross-collateralized their assets by putting them into shares of apartment complexes, mobile home parks, so on and so forth, because they are income, they have a value that actually raises your net worth, and you don't actually have to spend that much. So you can get a share for in a multifamily 100-unit building for anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000. Still less than that single family that you have in California, providing even more cash flow and an equity play. So things like that happen. So that was a good little recap for the class. Thank you. That I was just trying to see what they've been learning and that they're paying attention. Well done.
Yes. Well done, well done. And I took some great notes too. I appreciate that too.
I know, totally watching. I was like, he's liking this. He's making some notes. This is great.
Hey, they say if you're not learning, you're right. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So always be learning. That's for sure.
I don't know. I think Austin might be a Survivor contestant soon. That's what I think.
I don't even know what that
my Nelson advice people.
sounds dangerous. Sounds dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
He might go into the wilds of our survey.
It's not like making it afraid, is it? Okay, all right. I'm gonna draw the line somewhere. So
it's just teaching people the basics of real estate investing, building networks, partnerships, and using real estate as a vehicle for social change. Nice. So that's why that's the little challenge I put together, and it's just been going great. Nice. So David, Austin, did you guys have any questions about what you just heard?
No.
A lot.
Not. I mean, no. It's obviously very informative. I mean, just the fact that mobile homes. That's something that I hate to say this, but from my industry that I was doing prior, mobile homes are not a very good thing. That's where all the bad people go to respond to calls. so when you said
they are, but it's a box of just cash.
Oh, I'm not
box of cash.
that at all, but it just kind of was like
there's a stigma.
Interesting.
Yes, no, totally, 100%.
So that was a definite eye opener, and that's awesome. I love the evolution of how things are coming when it comes to your industry, because everybody was pitching real estate during the boom. And that was me, where I got kicked out of my house in 2010 because I had a crappy loan. And so for me, it was very like, wow, okay. Everybody and their mom was trying to be a real estate agent at that time, including my wife, so it was kind of interesting how the evolution of what you guys are talking about, it makes a lot of sense. It really does. So I appreciate it.
Can I ask you a little trivia question to see if you know then, David? Just because it might open your eyes a little bit. Who is the largest owner of mobile homes in this country?
I have no idea.
Oh, and it is.
Just take a guess. Take a guess.
Yeah, just take a guess. Just take a wonderful guess who that could potentially be. I think you did.
Thank you both.
Grant Cardone.
So Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
He's been in mobile homes for several years now. Berkshire, Hathaway. And he literally has been on in interviews and talked about how that is the best investment he's ever done in his entire career. And that's what pretty much got him put him into the status of billionaire to the way that he's in.
Warren Buffett.
All right, we had a question on Facebook, and I went to go click on it, and then I just heard Stephanie again. Warren Buffett.
That was great. That was a good little soundbite there, though. That's good.
Right.
So, there's something that I've always understood because I'm an agent myself in my area, and we always tell our clients or potential sellers, like, don't worry about who might buy your house. Like if they have any reservations, and we'll have to, of course, like do like fair housing and like anti-discrimination laws and stuff like to protect ourselves. But like I always tell them, like, only color you should care about, anything you should care about is green. The money. Where's the money? Who has the money? Who's the one that's going to pay you the money that you want? Right? The green. Only focus on the color green. And that's exactly the same mentality that Warren Buffett had when he saw the return that he got on mobile homes. Just throwing that out there.
Very good. I'm hoping someone would mention it. Yes, it's interesting because, David, you're right. The reason why people often miss out on the best returns in any asset class is because of preconceived stigma, prejudice, and emotional immaturity. So it is the responsibility of those of us who are professionals to enlighten others so they can awaken and not make those mistakes, because not sharing this knowledge is costing families generational wealth.
Yeah.
So that's part of that there. But yes, you're right. The stigma's there. But do you know what's interesting? When I talk to people about mobile homes, if I change the term to tiny homes, people get all excited because it's the newest fad. Same damn thing. It just has a front porch. They're in the same parks. They're in the same
life insurance, tax-free retirement. It's the same damn thing.
Yeah, and I love them because, like you guys are saying, life insurance is actually is a vault. It's a place where we can store our wealth, and when it's leveraged correctly with the right strategies and cross-collateralized with different asset classes, it will be one of the fastest way you can actually grow everything you have. What do you want? Anyway, sorry, text message. Okay, so I know we are after 4, and I want to make sure I acknowledge your time. So thank you for being on here, guys. It's been a ton of fun. But I want to be able to make sure we give you guys a nice record. Thank you for learning with us, too. That was a lot of fun. We have a question on Facebook from Steph's parents. Haha, surprising. They want to know, Austin, David, are you guys going to be teaching any classes?
We could probably do that. Yeah, I think David, you'd be open for that, or what?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I thought we were going to teach today. As far as a presentation or whatever, but it's cool. Like, I enjoyed what we were discussing. I loved it. Well,
what we typically do is when we have, when people want to actually take and learn and be more involved, because the questions that they ask tend to be a little bit more personal, is we have an evening session with a private Zoom invite that lets everybody come in, and they can actually have time to formulate their questions, email them to you, let you get prepared, everybody come together, learn, but it's not streamed live on Facebook for public knowledge and consumption for identity theft and things like that.
I'd be up for that.
All right, well, we'll make that happen. I will have Nelson set up something, so staff, make sure you tell your parents that we'll be able to go ahead and have this going on so people can actually ask questions. We will have a round table.
Good, I like that.
That would be a lot of fun, give you guys a chance. If you're interested in getting in touch with these guys, you will be able to, I have the link here. Here is David's information. Whoops, wrong one, that's to private. What happened there? It's everyone. Here we go.
Oh, you said that to me.
Sorry about that. Also here on Facebook. You can do the same thing here with Austin. Let me go and find that there. Well, that's going to be in the butt. All right, never mind. So schedule the appointment. He and Austin are partners. Talk to each other, make it happen. So there we go for that. Is there any other handle on social media that they can find you guys at?
I'm on Instagram at Austin Javen, AustinJaven. So you can find me there. And that's about it.
David?
I'm at David Joseph on Facebook. That's my middle name, David Joseph on Facebook. And I am at CEO50 on Instagram. So
there you go. Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun learning from you and learning with you. So thank you for being here. We look forward to having you on more. And quick reminders to everybody else, Real Estate Survivors Season 2 starts tomorrow evening. If you've gotten your VIP invite, please make sure to fill out your questionnaires. The form was just updated today, so anybody who's been a survivor prior or is going to be a survivor, please make sure to update it by taking the Rocket Fuel business profiling test, so we know if you're a visionary or an integrator. Also go in there and put in your mailing address, because I'm sick of having to ask all of you guys to mail t-shirts. Come on now, get with it. And then the last thing I want to mention is, Bo, do I have anything else to talk about?
Stock survivors tonight, so that's fun. Actually, there was a guy that we were talking about who just got a new job and wanted to know the difference between like what 401ks or life insurance policies he should chime in on. I tried to get him to come today, but I think he had to work. So, yeah, no, we've got Jazz and Keston on Wednesday, and then Christine on Friday. So, yeah, then we'll be live streaming from Atlanta all week. So that'll be fun.
So yeah, so and remember everybody, if you have any questions or if you're finding value in these talks, please leave a message on Facebook, send an email, find us on social media, like us, follow us, and also follow us at social media. Turn that damn thing off, I'm on live. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and until next time.
Thank you guys, I've had a blast. It was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Come back anytime.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your week. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.